All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to episode 13 of the Shanevivor podcast. Today, we will be talking about the essence and Amory vote offs of season 12, Blood versus Water. The first person we will be hearing from is Amory. Amory placed 8th in a 3-3-1 and then 5-1 vote after the revote. So let's go ahead and bring her in. All right. Hello, Amory. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Lovely, lovely. So let's just go ahead and dive right into it. So, first thing that we have to talk about is your tribal. So, you had an idol of that tribal and you chose not to play it. And you said in your confessional the reason for this was so that Aiden could have it later down the line. Do you still agree with that decision or do you regret not playing your idol?
I mean, I'm not really sorry. My dog is going all crazy.
You are good.
I'm not really one to kind of look back on things and like being kind of like a regret mode. I mean, I think things work out how they're supposed to and for a reason. So I mean, hindsight's always 2020, but I mean, there's no point in kind of, I guess, wishing something to change something you can't change. Ultimately, when it came down to it, I knew that Barnaby was voting Aiden. So that should have been a 4-3 vote. So I shouldn't have needed to play my idol. At the point I saw that Aiden got a strike, there was that moment of like, I don't know. I was hoping that Barnaby obviously would go with us on the revote. So things kind of played out the way they did. Aiden was the original player who invited me to play this game. He was the returning player. So I mean, I did think we were kind of doing this for him.
Yes. And so you say if Aiden had actually voted instead of striking, you would have been able to still be here, right?
Had Aiden voted, it would have been a 4-3-1. So Allison would have gone home instead of me.
And then that obviously has a lot of effects that alter the course of the game because obviously Allison made final 3, which about the final tribal. What are your thoughts on those final 3 and the results of the final tribal council?
I mean, I kind of expected it. I knew that Mal and Aiden actually, in my mind, played a pretty similar game in terms of they both had a partner that was a bigger threat. They both were liked and like allied with everybody. I mean, Mal and Aiden and I were playing together for a while. I told Aiden probably after first or second vote during merge is everyone always says this about these players is they come in and they're like, they're not a threat. We have to take out the big targets. They're not a threat. If you watch Survivor, Big Brother, any of those shows, those mid players that aren't seen as threats, honestly, I think kind of are the biggest threats because they're the ones who make it to the end because people want to sit next to them.
Oh, you always want to try and place yourself in that position where you're not such a goat that there's no chance you're going to win and no one respects your gameplay. But you also don't want to be the huge threat that, obviously they win if they make it to the end. So they take you out at like 7th, 6th, etc.
And with Allison not really talking to anybody except Mal and Essence, I knew that she wasn't a good goat for me in the game.
Yes.
And because I knew that I had a threat level, going after some of those big threats like Lazy or Essence wasn't really a valuable move for me because then it left me unprotected. I needed that kind of balance. So Allison was at that point in time, in my opinion, a big threat to my game.
Yes. And you say you had a big threat level. So assuming that you had to do whatever you did whatever you did to make it to the end, you're now at final 3. What do you say are your chances of winning? Just yeah.
I mean, I think it depends on who you're next to. I think again, Essence and Lazy both played amazing games. So I mean, I think that would kind of be up in the air depending on how the end game went. They were in the game longer than I was. So I mean, I think obviously Lazy has more moves to kind of a credit just because he had many more rounds than I did. But it would be interesting, I think, with those 3, although I don't necessarily know that the 3 of us would have wanted to go to each other. I feel like we would have all been taking shots at each other. I think those were kind of the 2 big other players that I thought were playing really great, strong, threatening games.
Yes. And obviously you got out 8th. So like if you actually did make it to the final 3, there would have been so many other opportunities for you to make big moves, to get a better resume. And obviously you would have positioned the final 3 to be sitting against who you would like to go against and think you could beat. So obviously from people who were eliminated further towards the beginning of merge, it's a lot more just predicting and less predicting with your current resume as opposed to what actually would have happened in the game. So it carries a little less weight.
I think looking at that 8, at least where we were at 8, like if we had gone at final tribal at 8, I don't think
Yes.
Lacey really he'd kind of been in the minority of all the votes and was kind of not in the know of what was happening as much in those first merge votes. He really flipped his game on in late merge, and that's where I thought he played really strongly. So at least if we're looking just at where I was, I don't think he had as much of a chance. Whereas Essence and Mal, I think thought they were controlling a lot in terms of they had more alliances and were kind of going around. But really, I mean, Aiden and I were the force behind the Ginger vote. I knew I had a close relationship with Jordan. I was having good talks with Lacey. I wanted to keep them going after each other, but kind of making sure I was taking out some of those allies that would take spots for me. And so they had all wanted to vote Lacey that round. And I had went and told Aiden, we've got to take Ginger out. So I mean, that was a big kind of force in terms of votes that I made, as well as I knew when they started talking to me about Tara, I kind of let Essence and Mal think that was all them. I knew from talking to both of them, it gave me a lot more insight of what was going on and where Mal and Essence gameplay was. So I was a lot more in the know of kind of what they were doing than I think they realized. And because I was kind of trying to play dumb to them of like I was in it. I knew the second that they agreed to vote Allison so quickly that they were voting me.
Yes. Yeah. And then yes, so obviously we've been talking about your game a lot, but and you said you don't like to have regrets or anything like or have regrets about how you played, but just the overall outlook of the season. Are you happy with how you played? Just how do you feel about your overall game? Obviously we've been talking about it here and there. Just yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I was really happy with that. I thought I was in a pretty good spot. Obviously I counted to 12,000 pretty much by myself, which was pretty painful. And then it didn't hurt me that Aiden found, just by guessing numbers, the two other amulets that gave us the idol, and that I had my partner. My first tribe Voda, I made what I felt were pretty good connections there, and then we were kept winning immunity, which was pretty good. And then on my swap tribe, I actually ended up with Mal, who was one of my top two on Voda, as well as my partner Aiden. And so, I mean, that set me up pretty solidly to walk into merge with what I felt like were pretty decent numbers.
And about the idol that you and Aiden that you and Aiden, but mostly you counted to and Aiden guessed for. Are you happy with how Aiden used the idol or not?
I mean, I was hoping he would do a little more with that. I mean, I think it's obviously nobody wants to go home with an idol in their pocket. Um, but it worked for him. He still made it to the end. It wasn't like he used it and then the next round went out and it cost him. So all in all, I mean, I think that's all you can hope for.
Yes. All right. Well, we've talked quite a bit, but we've talked a lot about everything. But do you have any final thoughts on anything at all? The season doesn't have to be about the season. Just any final thoughts before I let you go?
No, I mean, this was, as I said, something that I had played another game with Aiden, and he invited me to play as his partner as he was the returning player. And so it wasn't an org I had played before or was involved with, and I was really excited to get to play. I really enjoyed the host and the game, and it was really fun meeting everyone there. All in all, I had a lot of fun playing and really enjoyed it.
All right. Yes. Well, thank you for joining me, and maybe we'll have you again as an alumni guest. Who knows?
Thank you.
Yes. Thank you.
Bye.
All right. Thank you, Amory. And now it's time to move on to our seventh placer and villain of the season, Essence. Let's go ahead and bring her in. Hello, hello, Essence. Can you hear me?
Hello, can you hear me?
Hello. I can hear you. How are you doing today?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I'm also doing pretty good. You want to go ahead and just jump right into it?
Yeah, sounds good.
All right. So, first topic are obviously you had a tribal. What are your thoughts on the
Mhm.
tribal, and how sure were you that you were the one going home, or was it unexpected?
Well, I mean, I can't say I wasn't expecting it. Obviously, I had like a massive target on my back from like pre-merge, and I don't know, I was like kind of like a ticking bomb, like waiting to go off. Like, I knew that they were going to take me out at some point, whether it be final eight, final seven, final six. I knew it was going to be somewhere mid-merge, but I'm kind of sad that it had to be then. Um, I think I actually said in my confessionals that during my tribal, it would be silly for them not to take me out because obviously at that point, even though Mal was running merge with me, I was seen as the bigger threat because of my pre-merge game. Um, but I think the one thing that did surprise me was the fact that it was Mal who flipped on me. Because I thought if anything, it would be like the group of the single players would work together to like team up on me and take me out, but it was pretty close, especially with the extra votes. And I was kind of gutted that it was Mal to take me out, but obviously it worked out for him in the long run, so you can't be too mad.
Yes. And then, so you mentioned a lot of how you were taking time bomb because of pre-merge, about how much of a threat you got in pre-merge. Do you wish you would have downplayed pre-merge, or are you still happy with how hard and fast you played the pre-merge?
Um, well, I feel like most of the target was because of the Michelle vote, and I feel like there's no way that I could have played that any different because then I would have risked going home, and especially because on that vote I played the amulet and it was a tie and then a 5-0. Like if I don't know, there's no way you could underplay that. I had to be harsh. I had to like do what it took to get me through, but I don't know.
Yes,
I'm happy.
yeah, I think it was either you or Michaela going home that on that episode, and yes, I think you would agree that you had to do whatever you had to do to stay, because
Yeah,
sure, it raises your threat level, but raising your threat level doesn't matter if you're just not in the game anymore. So I think it is
yeah,
what you had to
definitely.
do.
Definitely.
Okay, so then next topic is final tribal council. Obviously, your partner Mal made it. Let's say we put you in that spot instead of Allison, so it's you, Aiden, and Mal. What chance do you give yourself of winning in that final three?
Um, well, I mean, as I said in my confessional, it kind of got to the point where I wasn't like necessarily bothered about winning. Like, I think it got to a point where I knew I was going to get taken out, but I was super proud of my game, and I would have loved the opportunity to sit next to Mal, even if I didn't win. I feel like it would have just been so iconic if we were just there together as the only duo that made it through merge. But if we're like talking in like technical, like who I think would
Yes.
have won, I think I did have a stronger pre-merge game than Mao. And I feel like that would have set us apart at Final Tribal Council because as well, obviously up until my vote out, we had a very, very similar merge game. And I don't know how Mao would have said that it was any different from mine. But I am super happy that Mal made it to merge. No, Mal made it to Final Tribal Council, not me, because it was his first ever org Final Tribal Council and his first win. So, from that
That's
respect, I am
nice.
super happy for him.
Yes, and then yes, you said you were very happy with your game, and I would have to agree that I am, and a lot of other spectators really enjoyed watching you play. So, just first off, thank you for making the season so fun to watch. You're one of the main reasons for it. Thank you. Yes, and then yeah, obviously with the final Tropic Council, very hypothetical against Mal or you. I probably obviously there's so many things that could have happened between final 7
Yeah,
and final 3. So there's
yeah,
very
definitely.
hypothetical to it. But I definitely think it would have been either you or Mal, and then whatever the moves you made between final 7 or final 3 would have had to have been something to put the other over the edge.
Yeah, definitely.
Yes. And then once again, you mentioned you had a fun time in the game, but what are your highlights of the game? Just where did you have the most fun? What were your coolest moves?
Hmm. Well, although the Michelle vote was very brutal, that was definitely I feel like that was definitely the highlight of my game. And when I really started like that was a point where I thought, oh, I'm actually doing quite well. Like maybe I can win this now because obviously the odds going into that vote were not very good for me because obviously I used an amulet and like going using an amulet and then having a revote that doesn't put me in very good odds. Um but by flipping every single vote off of me and onto Michelle, I feel like it really set me up to have a dominant game throughout, and especially going into merge. Um,
Yes.
I
Yeah.
don't know, like
You go.
um, as for like other games, like obviously when I got swapped onto the tribe and I was the only person from my original tribe, I was in like an awful position. And I'm pretty happy that I managed to not only survive that, but I managed to like put myself in like quite a good position within that tribe. Obviously, I feel like if we did go to tribal, well, obviously we did first, but that was a joint tribal. But if we would have gone to tribal by ourselves, I feel like in that situation I would have been the flip vote. So I'm pretty happy with that. And as for merge, I feel like I played a pretty good game and I took out some huge threats such as like Tara and Amri. And whilst I do think that these like moves kind of cost me the game, I'm super happy that like I got the opportunity to do that and kind of like prove myself.
Yes, yeah, you just look like you're having just a fun time, and you obviously played an amazing game this season. And then back to your swap tribe when you were with obviously the only person from your original tribe, Kurvavi. Um, I think everyone was impressed that you were able to position yourself in such a good spot because
Yeah,
obviously, yes, you never went to tribal. We never got to see the fruition of your game there. But
yeah,
I thought that it was either going to be Allison or Jordan going home, and you would probably be safe. Obviously,
yeah,
things could have happened
definitely.
differently, but that was what my prediction was if your tribe would have gone to tribal.
Yeah, I think that would have happened too. And honestly, I feel like in that situation, I would have saved Jordan because everyone was like hating on Jordan, but I kind of like Jordan, especially towards the end of that swap tribe.
Yes, I don't know. Um, it definitely would have been either Jordan or Allison. I don't know which one would have been best because obviously Allison wasn't doing a whole lot in the game at that
No,
point. They weren't talking to a ton of people. Like, and I think you had a girls' alliance where she didn't talk a whole lot in that either.
yeah,
So I think the only problem with taking out Jordan would have been relying on Allison's vote. So your
yeah.
plan of saving Jordan probably would have been more beneficial if Allison
Mhm.
just actually didn't vote or didn't try to work with you guys as much. You could have probably made that happen.
Yeah, definitely.
Yes. Okay, and then moving right along, who are just fun question? Who are your favorite people to play with this season? Not either that or just who did you like their game the most? Like which players did you like their games or to play with?
In terms of the play with, like, I know we were only together for a very short while, but I really did love Michelle. Like, although like we kind of went against each other in a very brutal way, she was honestly so great and she was always so friendly. And I feel like I didn't really want to take her out, but I was put in that position where I had to. But if we both went, I would have like loved the opportunity to play with her in Merge, but I feel like it would have been very cutthroat because we both have like a very similar villainous game style. So I feel like it would have been interesting if we both would have got to merge. Um,
I think she would probably want to disagree with you on the villainous play style. I think that she definitely had a more villainous persona this game, but she always
mm.
denies that she is a villain every time. She's like, no, I would totally be on the hero tribe.
No, I was so surprised, like, during that vote because I really love Michelle and I love talking to her. And we were like, oh my God, like, we're like working together. And then all of a sudden I was like, oh, Michelle is like trying to take me out. Like, I was not expecting it at all.
Yes, and hey, both of you have 3 games on your belt, 0 wins. So when fourth chances Hero would be villains comes around, who knows? You may get another chance to either work together or murder each other.
Oh, it'd definitely be interesting.
Yes. All right. So we talked for a bit, but do you have any final thoughts that you would like to share before I let you go?
Um, I don't know, just like in general, I just want to say like thank you to Shane and production for giving me the opportunity to play 3 times in 4 seasons because Shanevivor is one of my like favorite orgs and I'm definitely proud of the improvements that I've made throughout my game, especially from season 9, which is not a very good game for me, but I'm super proud of the game I played this time and yeah.
Yes, and obviously I didn't watch either of your earlier seasons. I was a bad spectator, but I'm spectating from now on. And you played a
Wow.
great game this season, and I hope to look forward to you playing in a different season where I'll spectate you again or be playing with you.
Yes.
Who knows?
Oh, that would be interesting.
All right. Well, that is all the time that we have right now. So thank you for your time and have a good rest of your
Thank
day,
you.
or I guess night. So,
Bye.
goodbye. All right. Well, once again, thank you, Essence. And that is all for this episode, but we will have one final episode of this Blood v Water season coming up soon. But if you enjoyed this episode, make sure to like and subscribe, and see you next time.